You described this return as re-emerging with your manifesto. What does that manifesto entail?
It entails a lot of inaudible noise.
I wanted to say pigs blankets for some reason.
No, it's I think recently we've been writing more observationally and just saying what we want to say. I think sort of going to social media event was sort of a bit of a bad habit of mine, and I just think it's probably a better idea to put it into a song, and really probably the best way to have the way we do it anyway to put our point across. So just our own take on now.
If you're writing observationally now, does the feeling you get from that and the approach to that differ to when you're writing introspectively? Is that a different kind of thing?
No, because I think it all sort of comes from the same place. I mean, if you take a look around, you sort of need to run with the feeling you get from whatever it is that you may be observing at that point. So, I mean, I think a lot of the time...
I think before we're kind of running away from it a wee bit. Well, not running away from it, but like a wee bit apprehensive just to go, we put everything out there that we wanted to say or feel, you know what I mean? I think it's easy to do that, whereas now it's just like, you need to put your cards on the table really, and but like you say, it comes from the same sort of place, so it's just trying to kind of put it out there and be upfront instead of maybe turning away from it or shying away from it a wee bit.
I think the word cathartic gets used a lot in songwriting, and I think that's sort of, you need to feel that regardless of what you're writing about. You need to use that you need to use whatever it might be as a catalyst to get it out there. So you get the same bounce back, I would say. You get that same buzz, for want of a better expression, regardless of what you write about, as long as you get your point across and it means something to you in a genuine way, then that's really what you get from it, what you take from it.
You were speaking there as well about, not shying away from it and being quite upfront and kind of tackling things head on. Does that then bleed into the soundscape of it? Because this new single's a bit kind of harsher, a bit more rugged, a bit some edges to it.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of that just sort of comes with playing the guitar more as well, and getting in here in this room and kind of, I don't know, when you click with 4 people kind of doing it and coming for, if it's maybe somebody's feeling a bit fucking pissed off or whatever, that sort of sound can kind of capture the room a wee bit, and there's an energy in it that then everybody else can kind of latch onto. Yeah. I think it comes through just coming in here and being together and actually and working through stuff like that, these sort of sounds.
I think that definitely is when we're at our best as well, like the kind of way we've went with this single, and it's like what's going on now has kind of made that easier, you know what I mean, to get out what you're feeling, and as Daniel says, when we're in this room, it just makes it much easier for our job when you've got what's going on now and we can hit out with a song like that, you know what I mean?
I think it's a symbiotic thing with the music and the lyric as well. I think that one dictates the other.
Yeah.
Do you remember the first time then the 4 of you were in a room, like you're saying, you're speaking about trying to capture that atmosphere. Do you remember the first time the 4 of you were in a room and everything kind of clicked and fell into place and you felt it all like coalesce?
Not really, because we kind of knew each other too long for that to be like, I don't know, it's hard to pinpoint, you know what I mean? So it's...
We're brothers, so we would never admit that anyway. We'd never admit that we had quite a good time in each other's company. But as far as the first time goes, nah, not really, but I remember, for instance, like the last single we put out, which seems like a lifetime ago, Pariah. I remember when that song clicked and I thought, that'll grab people. I think I'm looking forward to playing it live. Sometimes I think you can get a wee snapshot of what people might experience when they come to see you live, and when that happens, that's cool. So that jumps up every now and then.
Do you remember the first time you inspired each other then? As opposed to maybe it gelling together?
I've inspired a lot of you.
Inspired a lot of my haircuts. I think so. So you're to blame for it then?
I would say that all the time when we're in here.
That's awful nice of you.
No, definitely, because especially from my point of view, sometimes like I'll maybe have an idea of a song and then we'll work on it, but if it happens the other way around, where sometimes it's quite a spontaneous thing with the three of them, and I get to hear that and get that full impact standing at the sidelines, and that can be really inspiring.
But that's the beauty is, some of these songs on the album as well that are coming out, like
Stateless was very like that.
aye, like we obviously, like as a band, as a kind of rhythm section, whatever, just do what you do. It's like, and as Tony says, sometimes things just click. But then there'll be that moment where we've done that, and then you'll come in with whatever lyric it is, and you'll just put that's class. Like, and that kind of thing is like, it's definitely inspiring, makes you want to keep doing what you're doing and writing more songs for the record or whatever you're going to bring out. Like, it's just, as Tony says, I think it happens quite a lot in this room. But
I think we kind of look at it in I don't know, maybe speaking for myself, but you kind of look at it in a different way now, where it's like sometimes inspiration, you kind of wait for that to grab you. Instead, it's really about coming in here and just getting to work, man, and like and trying to hash things out, and then inspiration can follow after that. It's just about having that repetition of coming in and getting that thing off your chest, man. You know what I mean?
Like that Stateless, for me, was really it was quite an easy song to write the lyrics to. It was basically the guys pretty much nailed it the way it is on the finished record, and I just recorded it on my phone, went home, and I had it done within like an hour, and that was it. Next time we came in, played it, and we were good to go in the studio with it, because it did, obviously, I'm writing all the time. Lyrically, I'm always writing, and you always have something swelling about in your subconscious, so whenever you get something like that, it's a good vehicle just to jump on it, and I found that really inspirational when I took that home and listened to it. It just came together so easy.
I think the phrase you used to describe it as well, which I really like, was the sound of like a modern dystopia.
I think for us as a band, we're more angular, and we're just kind of, we maybe thought about things and kind of really disappeared up our own arse. We kind of like structuring songs and stuff like that. We want to kind of catch the chaos in what we're doing.
Much more direct these days.
And it just suits what I'm writing lyrically.
It's kind of easier because you can just look out the window now as well for a taste of dystopia, you know what I mean? It's like, unfortunately, it's what we're living in right now. So it's like,
I know.
You know what I mean? It's kind of, it's close to home, so.
What's the role of an artist then in a modern dystopia? Does that change?
Well, just to interpret in your own way, and come out with something original.
also, I think it's good, like, role of an artist is like to offer some sort of escapism, you know what I mean, in what you're doing.
Aye.
And I mean, that's it. We definitely feel what we've done with the single anyway, you know what I mean?
And a lot of the new material, that's really the end goal of it, that you want to have a body of work where people can kind of press play and walk around in it a bit and forget where they are in themselves for a while. And that's really the purpose of all that, I think, is just to make you forget yourself for a while and transport you somewhere else. I think a lot of the writing with the new material probably was from a sort of quite anxious vantage point, and sort of exaggerated, and my observations or whatever, but it just seems like the world's blown up so like just to an unrecognisable state that it's actually probably quite, what I've written is probably quite true, and you know, more realism than abstract.
Pure black metal into that
But
prediction.
I think people have a kind of hunger for that though, like especially in times like these, where everything just feels like fucking bad news every day, like it gets heaped on everyone. So I think people really hunger for, like say, something to escape to and some sort of art to hold on to try and, for a bit of hope, you know what I mean?
I think if you can harness it, I think if you can put a positive spin, if you can turn all of the complete shit show that's going on around you into like a 3-minute punk song or pop song or whatever it is that you're doing, I think that's your job really, to refresh things and make people see it in a different light. Talking about more kind of traditional art, I think all my favourite paintings are like that as well, you know, like Guernica and stuff like that, like kind of like just, you know, paintings that depict a war, but they depict it in such a beautiful and chaotic way, and it makes you see things differently. Not that war's good, but it's a nice wee day out for all the fans.
Also big fans of the Mr. Men books and sort of art like that.
Love all that.
Very good.
Love
Need some of that.
Especially with your breakfast that you had today. Goes down well with that.
Can't get enough. I think for as much as there's escapism in our music, there's still elements where you're holding a mirror up to what's going on in society.
This looks shit, doesn't it? Like that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Look in this mirror, it looks shit.
I thought you were actually talking about something. It's like, what like shit?
I'm still just trying to wake up, man.
You mentioned a wee while back though that idea of an escapist kind of body of work that people can kind of dive into and use in times like this. At what point does that enter the kind of thought process when, you know, assembling and working on new material? At what point do you start viewing a new song in the kind of perspective amongst the rest of your work that you put out in your body of work at large?
I think when you have a collection of songs, I think that's when you maybe start to piece together, you know, how people might view it and how you want to take people on a journey. Like, I think if you've got a collection of songs, it's good to almost envisage it like the one big house with different doors that people can walk into, and that this is what this room does, and there's something else happening in that room. If you can make it all sound like it's coming from the one house, but still have separate entities within that, I think that's a cool journey to go on.
It's a bit like Guernica as well. If you think of that painting, there's kind of lots of different things going on, but then it kind of assembles to make this one big picture.
Well, that's well, exactly. What I went to, where's the Dali Museum? I went to, where is it in Spain again?
Not Girona, but
It's just
near
outside
it.
Girona. Figueres.
Aye, I remember.
Went there to the Dali Museum, and it was just, I can't remember the huge big self-portrait, can't remember the name of the painting, but it's just tiny images. And then when you look at it a certain way, it's just Dali with his big curly moustache just glaring at you. So that's what we always try to do, just try to make sure there's a lovely big moustache.
If in doubt, yeah, get a curly moustache.
Were there any moments in the process of constructing this new song that kind of completely changed your perception of it like that? Where something happened or maybe a bit of time passed where it kind of changed for you? Or was it quite a kind of cohesive thing the whole way through and you knew what it was and what you wanted it to be?
I think this one was just very immediate. I don't think it took much structuring really, but it sometimes can dictate where you go next with your writing, because I think sometimes when we write we can maybe, like James will maybe come in and he'll have some really nice jazz chords on an acoustic guitar, and then the following practice will come in and smash something out that sounds absolutely disgusting in the best possible way, and then you go, right, well, how do you bridge that? And sometimes that can take a while to kind of get that process going, but if you're writing in a certain way, it's good to just to run down that route until it takes you somewhere else.
This new release as well, it feels a little bit raw.
Mm-hmm.
Does that affect the emotion of it for you as a creator? Is the emotion of this different to kind of things that you've put out in the past? And your kind of relationship to it?
I would say so.
Yeah, I mean, I think like our reactions, well, like mine, I'm on. Every time I hear this tune, as soon as I put it on, I just get like an instant rush in my heart. I take that as a good sign. Like, yeah, if I'm buzzing off it like this, then I want other people to buzz and feel the same way.
It's Tony, I think it was Tony that said earlier on as well, how immediate this one came together. It's just like, to me, that always just seems the best way. Like, as you say, you can disappear up your own arse and structure a song like a million different ways, but see when something just comes together like that, just so quick, it's definitely, obviously when it's most raw, but it's when it's best for me. Definitely, that's when you feel it the most. Something comes together that quick, it's,
I think sonically, absolutely, and I think even the more kind of melodic things we've been working on as well, if you can catch the kind of rawness of that as well, there's always it's always more real.
Sometimes the trick is like that probably we've been trying to get kind of better at is to leave it alone. Once it's happened, it's like don't try and dress it up too much, because you lose the actual feel of where it's came from and what it actually is. You know what I mean? It's hard to.
When it all boils down
to leave it alone.
When it boils down to it, that's what we are fundamentally. We are a live band, and like, it's when you leave stuff kind of to happen naturally like that, and it just comes together. As I say, that's when it's its best, and I think that's when we are definitely at our best. Like, like as close to it as the live show as possible. I think. You know what I mean? And like a song like Stateless, that's exactly what it is.
So I think on record we just tried to articulate the rawness and immediacy of like the first time that we'd played it and put it together, like that same sort of element of danger.
I think a lot of what we were talking about, well, it's sitting on the back burner just now, so hopefully this will maybe make sense later on. I think there's another song that we did a while back called Catacomb, and when I listen back to that, I don't really get anything from it, if I'm being honest. I think what we were trying to do there was, you can hear elements of that which are really good musically, I think, and we're creating a mood, but I definitely think it was a precursor of what we were trying to do with the new stuff that we've managed to actually catch. I think we've utilised what we've created in that and basically put it through a better song, essentially, if I'm being honest.
I mean, you wouldn't have got here though without making it. Like, you have to go through that to get.
Absolutely.
You mentioned structure a few times as well, and how that kind of differs a little bit on this song. I mean, throughout your songwriting in general at large, how has your relationship to structure changed as creators?
I don't think we're as anal. And I also think that probably there was a period of time where we were maybe, and again it's the same thing, like you kind of need to go through it to actually end up at the end at your end goal. We were probably trying to be a wee bit too experimental in here as well. It's like a snake eating itself almost, and you just don't really get anywhere with it. But like Daniel was saying, I think we've kind of learned how to go, we're getting what we want to achieve with this song, and we want to convey it. Really at the end of it all, you just want to connect with whoever's listening to it. That's really all it's about. So you don't necessarily need to just like go over structure all the time. I think we know how to structure songs, and we know what suits and when we don't actually need to spend too much time on it. It's just been a bit more comfortable with what you actually hit out with.
I think a lot of it's kind of down to knowing what, as individuals, what we're good at, and then collectively how we can make that the best thing for us. You know what I mean? I think sometimes before, like you say, it's like you can get lost, you can disappear up your own arse and that, but it's like, I think now we're getting to a point where we're able to know what each other's strengths are and try and hone in on them and really and use them instead of going off on tangents and getting sort of lost, you know what I mean?
One of my favourite things to do in here is, like, if we have got a song to a certain point where we're starting to kind of play with structure or whatever, is to just sort of sit back a bit and go for a smoke or whatever, and then sort of listen to, just let them do what they're doing, and kind of listen to, like, you know, the interplay between it. And just, I'm going to go here, and if you go there, I'm going to go and do this, and blah, 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 blah. So maybe before I would want to sit in on every note, and everybody would be the same, and want to know exactly what everybody was doing at all times. Whereas the best thing you can do is just actually go,
Trust
just
each
like
other.
do
Yeah,
what you're doing.
got a lot of
Trust each other. And then going, that sounds like shite, let's do, we need to do something else.
Get the bagpipes in.
Aye.
Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, man.
Cheers. Thanks a lot.